What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Wrestling is Bullshit podcast. We have a lot to talk about, very interesting stuff today. We had WWE Unreal Season 3 drop, and then we have a major star that may potentially be out of WWE, and with my personal speculation, AEW bound. Let's get into WWE Unreal first, of course. I gotta say, I really don't watch Raw and SmackDown too much week to week. I keep up with the highlights on YouTube, but it's not like at 6 p.m. on Mondays and Fridays. I'm sitting down and tuning in as much as I used to. I watch all the premium live events as much as I can, and I stay informed, essentially. One thing that is appointment viewing to me, one thing that I do binge, and I'm not even a binge watch type of guy. I'm more of a watch an episode or two and then pick it up later type of guy. I'm not a big binge watcher, but I do, in fact, binge WWE Unreal. I do enjoy the hell out of that show. I think it's fantastic. I think it gives you unique insight into the wrestling business, of course, being what it is. And then I think it gives you an opportunity to get to know the human beings behind the WWE superstars that we see. I really enjoy the show. I really do. I was looking out for a couple of key things in season 3 of WWE Unreal. And I got to be honest, I was not satisfied with what I was looking for. I enjoyed the show. Yes, it was very entertaining. Honestly, I'm much more of a CM Punk guy after season 3. I feel like I am very similar to the human being that is Phil Brooks after watching WWE Unreal, which is a sign of good TV, right? Which means it's good TV. It's not a pro wrestling show, but it's a show about pro wrestling, and it's excellent TV. It's magnificent. But ultimately, what I was looking for in this season was how creative was going to look like going into WrestleMania for Cody and Randy. Now, to refresh your memory, which I know I don't even need to, I think the booking of Cody and Randy at WrestleMania this year was a genuine blunder. I understand the word blunder and creative misstep and all pivot and all these things get thrown out there. I've been enjoying WWE, and I feel like I was very positive from the beginning of this show till about late 2025, early 2026. The booking of Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton has really upset me beyond words, really. And I feel like I've beaten a dead horse earlier this year on this show. So I don't want to get into it too much, but I wanted to see, like, what the heck were they thinking? And I could kind of see what they were thinking. They were thinking they can add stars to have this big moment with Jelly Roll and Pat McAfee. But ultimately, while the moment was admittedly cool, the angle just really soured the entire ending of the match and the build and the story that was already built in there. I wanted to see what these guys were thinking. And ultimately, they knew that Cody was going to get booed in Vegas. But here's my thing. What is wrong with having a heel Randy Orton cheered in Vegas and a babyface Cody booed in Vegas? It reminds me of SummerSlam 2009, 2010, 2011. Whoever was facing John Cena was the babyface in that building, right? In Los Angeles, California, Randy Orton in 2009 was cheered like a babyface. John Cena was clearly the babyface. Orton was the heel. Cena got booed out of the building. You can let things like that happen in cities like Vegas and Los Angeles, right? Let the heel get cheered. It's fine. It's pro wrestling. You don't need to make a whole Pat McAfee, we hate this, go away heat thing on the legend Randy Orton, legend killer Randy Orton. Oh, man. There I went down a rabbit hole again. But I was really looking to see, like, what were these guys thinking? And what I can say is they weren't. They weren't thinking. Maybe they were thinking too much. They were thinking they were so awesome that anything they put out there, people would cheer. And yes, for some wrestling fans, that's true. And I'm glad you guys are having fun. But ultimately, man, for the diehards like us that have been in it for a while, you got to do the Cody and Randy story right. Now, it wasn't their first time getting in the ring together, but this was the big WrestleMania match. This was Cody's match, and they ruined it. And it just kind of came off as flat on WWE Unreal Season 3 when you get to that point in the season. When you get to WrestleMania and you hear what Cody's saying, you hear about why they turned Pat McAfee heel, and for some reason they're so proud of themselves for it. Like, I would have rather seen WWE Unreal, and I would have rather seen these guys say, like, oh, we saw that what we did didn't work for WrestleMania this year, and we really feel like we fumbled. And if they were honest, like, if they would have, maybe WWE creative really does think like this behind closed doors, but if they would have the humility to say, like, yeah, we messed up creatively and the fans got pissed, if they would have put that in the show, that would have been excellent. That would have made that show from good to great, in my opinion. And that would have kept me engaged in the WWE loop in a unique way through Unreal. I know a lot of people that don't even like wrestling, but they watch WWE Unreal, so they know who Cody Rhodes is. Now they're going to know who Trick Williams is. They know who Lyra Valkyria is. They know who Becky Lynch is, Seth Rollins, CM Punk. They know from the show. And I think that's great. I think that's the future of this thing, man. I think you make a really good reality TV show. Don't hold anything back. And I think that's how you get people to be more comfortable and familiar with wrestling as a household thing. Like, I really think WWE Unreal is the key. And they probably know that too. They're just too proud of themselves to show inter-creative conflicts. You know, they really don't show that on the show. There's probably a lot of you out there that don't want to see that. I wouldn't mind seeing that. That's very interesting to me at this point, is because I really do think Triple H is a genuine guy. Sure, maybe he's a bit of a jerk. Aren't we all? Who knows? I don't even know. I'm just speculating. But from what I see on WWE Unreal, it really does feel like Triple H is trying his best, and it feels like they are trying to do new things. Now, obviously, yes, they may be too proud of themselves at this point, but who doesn't when you're making that type of money? Ultimately, what I'm trying to get at here is I think they shouldn't be afraid to show everything in WWE Unreal. After 3 seasons of peeking back the curtain, show us those deep creative meetings where they know they messed up. What does that look like when they mess up a Cody and Randy story? I mean, they really didn't show that in this season, let me tell you. They had Cody Rhodes monologuing over the match, and then they got a bit from some of the creative guys talking about Pat McAfee, but they did not address the fact that it was a genuine blunder. And I think it's fair to say that that was a very genuine blunder. I try to be the most positive wrestling fan out there. I really do. That was terrible. Go watch WWE Unreal Season 3. One more thing about Unreal before we move on. They were talking about how the Vision was cursed with injuries after Rollins got injured, because Rollins got injured initially. And then, Braun Breaker got injured. Bronson Reed got injured. And then slowly Logan Paul joined them and they became a tag team. And now Braun Breaker is back. And now it's a 3-man little thing with Maxine Dupree recently added. They were taught the big theme through one of the episodes was the Vision faction is cursed with injuries. But they didn't have the self-awareness to realize that karma's a bitch, and it happened because they faked a Seth Rollins injury for last year's SummerSlam. And that's what tells me everything I need to hear about the current WWE leadership. I like a lot of what they do. I despise a lot of what they do. It's a very interesting thing. It really is. So, and really, yeah, it's more of what you don't see on WWE Unreal Season 3 that speaks numbers, that speaks volumes, I should say. But ultimately, I would recommend watching it nonetheless. And I would say if this is going to be a thing moving forward, we should see these guys responding to real life narrations that are happening about them. Narratives, I should say. Right? Like, a lot of people think that WWE is out of the golden era that we saw for a short, brief period of time between 2022 and 2024. That's kind of the conversation right now. Don't get me wrong. There are people that enjoy everything they throw at them, and that's great. But I think every level-headed person can agree that WWE has stopped telling stories at the capacity that they were telling stories just a couple years ago when they were peaking again. And nothing ever lasts forever, but sometimes the things that we see on the weekly television, I'm like, goodness gracious, this is barbaric. This is ridiculous. I'm not watching this. Especially when I got AEW out there making me happy. Doing really good for the past year and a half, maybe. Anywho, WWE Unreal. I think if it is to stick around, I think they got to be more honest with themselves. They got to learn as a company what's going on around them. They got to be a little more self-aware as to the problems that they create for themselves. I think if this show is going to continue, and I want it to continue, then they have to stop withdrawing information at a high level. I think you've already opened up Pandora's box. Now lean into it. And leaning into it might do wonders for what they want to do, which is make WWE a household brand. I think the show is how you do it. I don't think you do it with Raw and SmackDown. You haven't been doing a good job with the shows lately, but I do think they'll figure something out. I think the shows will be better in 2027. I really do. You're nipping stories in the bud. Some of the best stories that we were about to get this year have really been mediocre. I think they're trying to embrace the chaos with the rapid title changes of, Sami Zayn holding it, Cody holding it, and now CM Punk holding it. I think they're really trying to figure out how to operate right now, learn from their mistakes. And if they do learn from their mistakes and take a little bit of humility with them, then I think that they can improve the product of WWE and, give us a good show where they're a little bit more self-aware, if I'm being honest. I don't want you to think that this isn't good TV. It's really good TV. It's just, as a big fan of WWE, I watch some of the things that they should be addressing with this show, and they don't even address it. They're not self-aware. They're not self-aware. Or they could care less. Or they could care less and they're just swimming in money. That could be the thing too. Watch WWE Unreal Season 3. It was good. It was really good. I think they have more progression to go in terms of what this show can have. I want to see more creative meetings. I really do, especially around bad decisions. I want to see how they handle making a mistake. And I think this was the perfect time to do that on the show, which would have made the show huge and excellent, really. Instead of giving us this tone deaf, bland, oh yeah, the match and it was good and we came up together, Cody and Randy, Anywho, we have a WWE superstar that will be leaving. She has yet to re-sign her contract, and she doesn't seem interested in re-signing her contract. That is Bayley. And that's interesting, right? Because you think about Bayley's tag team partner, Bayley's partner in crime, formerly known as Sasha Banks, now known in AEW as Mercedes Moné. And then you think about Bayley, whatever her name in AEW is, coming over to AEW, Moné potentially being the women's world champion over there. And you think about a big main event, like a Boston show. Oh my goodness. That's what's next for Bayley. I don't see her fitting in with WWE and that women's division right now. And that's a fault of WWE. It really is. I understand that it can be challenging to book Bayley sometimes. Yes. But if it's really to the point where you have nothing for her and you have a bunch of titles collecting dust, like the Women's United States Championship over at SmackDown, I think the women's IC title is one of the best women's titles in wrestling right now. But I can't say the same for WWE's two main women's titles, the WWE Women's Championship and the Women's World Championship. Now, obviously, I'm not going to come down too hard on those because Rhea Ripley got injured and Liv Morgan competed in the Queen of the Ring tournament, which was admittedly really cool. So, yeah, it's like if you don't have a place for Bayley at the current state of your women's division, then I don't know what to tell you. Bayley should just go to AEW, get some more money, and wrestle a banger match against Mercedes Moné. Maybe capture the women's tag team titles with Mercedes Moné, tell a story, have some fun, be great and excellent. And I think if Bayley were to go to AEW, it would be something completely different that we see over there. I think Bailey is like on the precipice of kind of finding that character that is going to be her character for the rest of her career. And I think we're going to see it like immediately in AEW if she does go there. And it does seem like she's going to go there. Maybe her and Sheamus will go together. Who knows? I would like to see it. For Sheamus, sure, you can probably have space for Sheamus in AEW. But for Bailey, I'm like, yo, she's got to go. She's got to go to AEW. That's a must. That would be tremendous, and I think that would be fantastic. Let's go over some results here. We got a couple of results before we get into this week's watch list, which is AEW heavy. Of course, next week will be SummerSlam, so next week's watch list will be insanely WWE heavy. So we got 2 good weekends of wrestling coming ahead. First one's going to be AEW, last big stop before All In. We'll get there. And then, of course, next weekend will be SummerSlam, which I am, as the card is forming, the builds have been They haven't been shit, but they haven't been fantastic. They've been meh. But I look at the card and I'm like, there's no reason this isn't a good show. And I'm okay with, a good show just standing and delivering. All right, let's go over these results real quick. So, speaking of SummerSlam, in 2 weeks, we have Chad Gable winning a gauntlet match to be the number 1 contender for the Intercontinental Championship. One of the big matches happening at SummerSlam, and one of the ones I'm most excited for, is Chad Gable versus Penta for the Intercontinental Championship. Very excited for that. I think this is a big opportunity for Chad Gable to win the big one. If not, I think Penta's been doing fantastic work. I can go either way, but of course, I think everybody wants to see Gable get a big moment here, and I'd be cool with that. I think that'd be a fun moment. That it's well deserved and it's long overdue. Okay, getting a bit smaller scale here, we have Harlem Lewis. He has recently won the WWE Evolve Championship. WWE Evolve is on Tubi. It's on Wednesdays. You kind of see the best of the best from Evolve end up in NXT sooner rather than later. But, I will say Evolve has produced some stars, and I think it is doing better work than a lot of people realize. Harlem Lewis is their new champion, their new Evolve champion in WWE. And Nikita Lyons is the women's champion, the Evolve women's champion. All right, and then we get to Saturday night's main event, which took place a couple days ago at the time of this recording. And we did see some cool, fun stuff. We saw the New York Knicks have a big presence in Madison Square Garden after they won their NBA championship, right? We saw Karl Anthony Towns chokeslam Dirty Dom through a table. We saw Jalen Brunson and Roman Reigns close out the show. That was cool. And then we did get one title change as well. We saw the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships change hands. And Fatal Influence is the new champion. It's been Paige and Brie Bella for a while, since WrestleMania. They did what they could. They did a very good job, I would say, actually, of defending these titles, right? These women's tag team titles have been good for almost a year at this point, if I'm not mistaken. They've been consistent, and I think Paige and Brie Bella did a solid job of defending the titles and keeping the momentum of the titles going. And now you have Fatal Influence with the titles. They are just up on the main roster from NXT very recently. I think they're ready to defend those titles on Raw and SmackDown a lot, which will make the weekly shows more fun. And I'm very excited to see what they do. I think Fatal Influence has a bright future. I would like to see JC Jane and Fallon Henley be a tag team. Honestly, I hope they do that. JC Jane has kind of been the manager. She's kind of been wrestling singles. She's fantastic, so that makes sense. But I would like to see her and Fallon Henley be a tag team, to be completely honest with you. Anywho, let's get into this watch list. On Tuesday on NXT, in the main event, we will see Tony D'Angelo defend the NXT Championship in a street fight against Naraku, formerly known as Evil from New Japan Pro Wrestling. Definitely make some time to watch this. I couldn't recommend it more. I think they are just throwing stars at Tony D'Angelo over there at NXT. They're kind of aware that they have a big mid card and not too big of a main event scene. So they are taking new big signings and throwing them at the NXT champion, Tony D'Angelo, who is at the peak of his game right now, and he's taken a long time to get there and perfect his craft. So I can't recommend NXT championship matches enough right now. NXT doesn't even get enough credit, dude. There's so much good wrestling happening that NXT kind of falls under the radar. So there it is. Watch some NXT. All right. And then the rest of the stuff on the watch list is AEW. We got AEW Dynamite on Wednesday. We got Divine Dominion defending the AEW Women's World Tag Team Championship in a no disqualification match against the Sisters of Sin. I think this is going to be a premier match. I think this is something that they've been building up to with Divine Dominion. I think AEW's women's tag team wrestling it's been good. I think they have been playing it safe, and I think this is kind of I don't want to say sink or swim, but I'll say make or break for their tag team division. This is something that they've been building up to for a minute now. And then an even cooler match on Dynamite, we have Kevin Knight defending the TNT Championship against Darby Allin. That should be a very solid match. I mean, Kevin Knight is one of the best wrestlers in the world right now, and Darby Allin is one of the coolest, right? And best, really. So this will be a solid match. I think they wanted to put this on AEW Redemption, but they're giving it to us on Dynamite. Tony Khan has been adamant about putting significant matches on TV a little bit more often, which is cool. That's why we got MJF versus Kenny Omega, and then that's why we're getting Kevin Knight versus Darby Allin here on Dynamite as well. So I'm all for it. That's great. And then on Sunday, we go into AEW Redemption, and this is where we have quite a few matches of significance happening here. We have Hikaru Shida defending the TBS Championship against Maya World. That is a show stealer right there, right off the bat. We have Jericho versus Tommaso Ciampa in a no-holds-barred match. I think that match will surprise a lot of people, if I'm being honest. I know Jericho versus Tommaso Ciampa isn't the most exciting feud right now, but I think this will have a nice culmination in a good wrestling match. At least Tommaso Ciampa thinks so, and who am I to go against Tommaso Ciampa? Scary dude. And then we have Cage and Cope, formerly known as Edge and Christian in WWE, defending the AEW World Tag Team Championship against the Death Riders. Going to be Claudio Castagnoli and Pac against Cage and Cope. And then we have Mark Davis defending the AEW National Championship against Andrade El Idolo. That'll be a good match. I expect Idolo to win this title. This will be a crazy win for Mark Davis if he wins, though. So we'll see what happens here. Kyle Fletcher versus Bandito for the AEW International Championship also taking place. Kyle Fletcher, one of the best up-and-coming wrestlers in the world right now, and then Bandito, straight up one of the best luchadors in the world right now, if not the one. Well, probably Penta. It's probably Penta at number one. Bandito is definitely in the top three, though, I'd say. And then we have Tekla versus Willow Nightingale for the AEW Women's World Championship. A lot of people are predicting that this is a crowning moment for Willow Nightingale, and we get Willow versus Monet at All In, which would be awesome. And then, of course, in the main event, we will have Kenny Omega defending the AEW World Championship against Kevin Knight. A lot of people aren't very excited for AEW Redemption. It's the first pay-per-view under the Redemption name. A lot of people probably were anticipating Kenny Omega versus MJF kind of being the main event of this show and carrying the show. But honestly, I think there is just enough here to set up for All In. I think there's a lot of cool titles that are about to change hands. I think Andrade El Idolo is about to get that national championship. I think Darby Allin's going to win the TNT championship, kind of sending Kevin Knight into the main event of Redemption, unstable and ready to nothing to lose, basically ready to have a killer main event. There's not a lot on paper here to get us excited, I will say, but don't be silly and be excited because it's going to be good. Even Cage and Cope have been kind of having a middling final tag team title run in AEW. And I think that they're going to surprise a lot of people against Claudio and Pac. I think that's going to be a money match. I think Claudio and Pac aren't going to let that match be anything but amazing. And Cage and Cope, of course, are going to do their part as well. Very interesting stuff here. Very exciting stuff. Before we get you out of here, let's go ahead and read off the top 20 champions of wrestling. Let's get into our honorable mentions first. We have Athena, Ring of Honor Women's World Champion, Deonna Purrazzo, Women's Pure Champion of Ring of Honor, Red Velvet, the Women's World Television Champion of Ring of Honor. 3 Ring of Honor champions there, starting off the honorable mentions list. Dalton Castle and the Outrunners, another Ring of Honor championship, right? Those are the World 6-Man Tag Team titles. They've been doing great work. AEW Women's World Champion Tekla's been doing great work. Bandito, Ring of Honor World Champion's been doing great work. Damian Priest and R-Truth, the WWE Tag Team Champions, are on this honorable mentions list as well. Lee Moriarty, Ring of Honor Pure Champion, on this list. El Sky Team, Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, on this list. Leo Rush, Ring of Honor World Television Champion. Excuse me, so many words. Cedric Alexander, the X Division Champion of TNA, is on here. Tiffany Stratton, the Women's United States Champion over at SmackDown, on here. And then Lexis King, the WWE Speed Champion, rounding out our honorable mentions list. And now we get into number 20. Number 20 is Cage and Cope, here having a big title defense soon. And honestly, they're destined to make these AEW World Tag Team titles mean something on their way out. And they're going to do it, even if they're getting a slow start in their reign. Number 19, we have the NXT Women's Champion, Kendall Gray. Very great wrestler there. Number 18, we have the Conglomeration, AEW World Trios Champions. At number 17, we have the Vanity Project, NXT Tag Team Champions. At number 16, we have the WWE Women's Champion, Lady Luck. Number 15, we have Hikaru Shida, the TBS champion. And then at number 14, we have the Women's North American Champion, Zardia. And then we have Divine Dominion up next, number 13, AEW Women's World Tag Team Champions. TNT Champion is at number 12, Kevin Knight. Mustafa Ali is at number 11, the TNA International Champion. Getting into the top 10 here, we have Jon Moxley at number 10, the Continental Champion of AEW. Number 9, we have Mark Davis, the AEW National Champion. Number 8, we have Miles Bourne, the North American Champion of NXT. At number 7, we have Rey Fenix, the AAA World Cruiserweight Champion. And at number 6, we have the Intercontinental Champion, Penta. At number 5, we have Tony D'Angelo, the NXT Champion. And at number 4, we have the AEW International Champion, Kyle Fletcher. Getting onto the podium here at number 3, we have the United States Champion, Trick Williams. We have the Women's Intercontinental Champion, Sol Ruka. And then we have the AEW World Champion, Kenny Omega. Good list. Good time, right? All In's right around the corner. SummerSlam is coming up sooner than we think. So we got some champions doing their things. And I'm sure we'll have some new champions soon enough. All right, guys. We'll be back next week to talk about AEW Redemption and preview SummerSlam. I will also be doing a preview and predictions show with my boy Ant for SummerSlam, it being the second biggest WWE show of the year. We also have All In coming up. We'll do another one for AEW All In as well. So it's an exciting time, you know. I think summer gets fun with WWE SummerSlam and AEW's All In, and they kind of compete at a high level in the summer, which is really cool. All right, Phyllis, that's all I got for you today. Be good and be happy. Talk soon.